And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will transition to a pivotal topic, youth. So, with over half of the kingdom's citizens under the age of 35 and 70% of the population under the age of 20 or 35. So I'll repeat this again. With half of the kingdom's citizens under 25 and 70% of its population under 35, the Saudi youth represent a catalyst for innovation, prosperity, progress, and a lot of untapped opportunities. So let's listen to the voice of our youth with a special focus on young athletes. I am pleased to welcome to the stage Rasha Al-Khamis, Vice President of Saudi Boxing Federation, who will moderate this panel discussion. Welcome, Rasha. A big round of applause, please, to our moderator and speakers, and the two remarkable Saudi athletes, Dunya Abu Talib, Taekwondo champion, and yes, and Hussein Ali Rida, Olympian and the captain of the Saudi rowing team. Welcome. And now I will pass the mic to Rasha. To you, Rasha.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rasha Al-Khamis, the Vice President of the Saudi Arabia Boxing Federation, a Board of Director on the Asian Boxing Federation, while also I'm a sport enthusiast, a 4-time Guinness World Record holder, the first certified boxing coach from the Saudi Arabia Boxing Federation. So Dunya and Hussein, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you on the stage. Let's start by exploring your journey in sports. Dunya, can you tell us more about how you got involved in Taekwondo and what inspired you to pick up the sport?
طبعاً بدأت تايكوندو وأنا عمري 8 سنوات. ما كان في الدعم اللي موجود حالياً، وكانت نظرة أبويا رحمة الله عليه بعيدة. يعني كان يقول لي إنه راح يكون للمرأة دعم في السعودية ولا توقفي. فالداعم الأول لي توفى، وبصراحة وفاته أثرت علي مرة، وبس ما خلتني أستسلم وخلتني أصارع على الحياة، إني أنا أقدر أكون إني أنا يكون لي بصمة في السعودية. والحمد لله حققت الكثير من الإنجازات اللي خلت أبويا يفخر فيني وأهلي.
Thank you for sharing your amazing journey. I'm definitely sure that many of us in the audience are very inspired by your journey. How about you, Hussein? How was your journey and how did you become a champion in rowing?
I started relatively late, actually. It was during my master's at university. And I picked up this new sport called rowing that I've never really seen before. And it just encapsulated just the extremes of sport, extreme fitness and physicality, and ultimate finesse and technical ability. And it just sucked me into this new world. And ultimately, the Olympics is everything in rowing. Everything surrounds the Olympics. So when graduating, I'd improved quite a bit. And that seed was just planted in your head. There's just 3 years to the Olympics. Can I do it? And that's when I made the decision with my parents to just drop absolutely everything and try and qualify to Tokyo.
Whoa, what an impressive panel we have here. Both of you have represented Saudi Arabia. Both of you have represented Saudi Arabia on international platforms, including to be flag bearers. Can you share with us some of the proudest moments? Let's start with Dunya, ladies first.
أنا بدأت التدريبات طبعاً متأخر في آخر 3 سنوات الأخيرة، بداية 2020. بالبداية حققت أول ميدالية لي عربية ذهبية، وبعدها حققت ذهبية بجميع البطولات اللي في المملكة داخلية، وبعدها حققت أول ميدالية على قارة آسيا برونزية، وهذه كانت بدايتي لإني ما أستسلم وأقدر أني أحقق بطولات أكبر. طبعا بعدها صارت الألعاب السعودية. الألعاب السعودية كانت تقريبا يعني التجهيز لها 4 أشهر فقط، وكانت مدة مرة قليلة. وبعد الألعاب السعودية كانت في بطولة العالم ب15 يوم. الحمد لله حققت ذهبية الألعاب السعودية وكان إنجاز عظيم، وبعدها حققت الميدالية البرونزية في بطولة العالم، وكانت هنا بداية دخولي للتاريخ بأول لاعبة سعودية تحقق أو تصعد على منصات التتويج العالمية. وبعدها كان شاركت في بطولة الألعاب الآسيوية وحملت الراية، وسبق لي إني أنا حملت الراية في دورة الألعاب الإسلامية، وهذا فخر جدا لي. وإن شاء الله السعودية تقدر إنها تكون في تتويج في منصات أولمبية.
It must be a very proud moment for us all to see you carrying the Saudi flag on an international platform. Back to you, Hussein. Can you tell us more about your proudest moments?
Honestly, I've been lucky enough to have many incredibly proud moments, especially being flag bearer at the opening ceremony in Tokyo. I think for any athlete, that's the pinnacle. It's just the ultimate honor. But I think that's too easy of an answer. A really proud moment that stuck with me for a very long time was actually this last December. It was after Tokyo. It was the first time I traveled to a rowing competition with a team. Up to that point, I've been traveling with my coach, just us two mainly. Seeing other nations there with their massive squads, and it was just sort of me and Bill Barry. But this December, we went to the Asian Championships with a full squad. We had, Kariman is in the audience today. You have Yusuf Shleidan and Abdussalam from the Saudi Rowing Federation here today as well. And it was just so inspiring to see that the sport has grown now into a federation, into a team, and a new family. And that's a reflection of the support that we got from the Saudi Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Sports. So that really stuck with me, and I just took a moment to observe, that moment, and that was a really amazing moment.
What amazing role models we have for our current and future generation. But I'm definitely sure being a role model will carry many responsibilities. So may you shed light on some of the responsibilities of being a role model? Sen, would you like to start first?
Yeah, sure. I think this question is interesting because what I want to say about role models is anyone in this room can be a role model. I don't think role models should exist to you through a screen, like a Lionel Messi or David Beckham, as great as they are. Me personally, I was inspired by my father, and he wasn't an international athlete by any means. He just played hockey at school. And his pictures on the wall, little trophies here and there from school was enough to inspire me. So anyone in this room can inspire a future Olympian. All you have to do is be active. You just have to, carry yourself with dignity and respect. And you never know who you can inspire. It really doesn't have to come from superstars. So I think if people sort of realize the power they have to inspire absolutely anyone in their family or in their office or a friend, then I think we'll be a lot more active. So just keep that in mind, that you can be the inspiration for a future Olympian.
Dunya, being a woman in combat sports, taekwondo might be a little bit challenging. What are the obstacles you faced and how did you overcome them?
صراحة تعلمت إنه الشخص أو الرياضي نفسه يقدر يحلم ويقدر يحقق، وهو نفسه اللي يقدر يحبط نفسه ويحبط حلمه ويكون سلبي على نفسه. معلش سوري. طريقة تفكيرك هو اللي حيأثر على طريق نجاحك. فالسلام تعلمت السلام واحترام الوقت والحكمة. أعطتني عدم إهدار الفرصة وسهلت لي طريق نجاحي.
Thank you for being transparent and honest. I'm sure with all the challenges back then, Saudi Arabia Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Sports have changed those into enablers where they can actually pave the way for future athletes to compete at a regional and international level. Now let's explore the next topic with Hussein. Hussein, you've participated in the Olympic Games. As this forum today focuses on the tool of dialogue, could you tell us more about your experience in the Olympics?
It's unlike anything I've ever experienced. I can't relate it to anything I've ever been a part of. It's that one moment, that one place in the world where everyone is there for one reason. So no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, you sort of all have the same mission and you all speak the same language. It's a family, it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood, and the intentions are pure. And what comes out of that is, dialogue for peace, because you realize that in that moment, no matter what differences you have outside of sport, there is this true possibility of dialogue and understanding. Oh. And if peace needs to start from sport, then I think it's definitely a great place to start.
In some essence, the Olympics is a platform that brings people, sports enthusiasts, athletes together to work in peace and harmony. So if we talk about the theme of peace, how do you believe that your sport transmit the values and foster the peace culture?
Well, rowing is unique that you're out in nature every day. You're out in the middle of the water, so there's this tranquil environment that brings peace upon you. But also, more importantly, you have to unite with your teammates. You have to communicate. You cannot be successful in rowing without it. And these are all qualities that can transcend into reality. So I have become a much more peaceful person now. I'm sure Kariman has as well, and anyone who's involved in the humbling process of rowing that really grinds you down every day will come out of it a much more peaceful and person that understands the power of unity.
Definitely. Dunya, we would love to hear as well your diverse perspective when it comes to Taekwondo. How do you believe that peace, that your sport can transmit and foster the values of peace culture?
كنت أواجه صعوبة في إني ألقى أحد أتمرن معه، فكوني امرأة وحيدة في رياضة التايكوندو ما خلتني أستسلم، واللي خلاني أتقدم بدل الخطوة 10 اللي هو الدعم اللي صاير لنا، دعم المرأة، وهو فتح أبواب للنساء بالمستوى الدولي، وخلانا نكون مشاركين وليس متفرجين، بدل إني أكون يعني أحقق في خلال سنوات قدرت إني أنا أحقق بخلال فترة بسيطة. لكن بعد البطولات اللي صارت في مملكتنا مثل بطولة الألعاب السعودية وبطولة العالم، أخذنا الخبرة منها وقدرنا نحقق على المستوى الدولي.
I fully agree that sports can certainly shape you as a person, and the values can really shape you as a person. As we conclude, what advice would you have for young future athletes? Hussein?
From my experience, I've seen how hard work trumps talent every day. No matter what your circumstances to a certain extent, if you are obsessed with what you do, if you love what you do and you don't consider it as work, you don't consider waking up early a burden, then you will succeed. But you really, the intention has to be pure. You have to love every aspect of the sport to the point where even when you're sitting in bed at night, you're thinking of how can I improve, and tomorrow I need to try this. It has to be subconscious. And so that's why anyone, no matter how tall or short, you are, you can succeed in rowing. I've seen it. The champion in Tokyo was not by any means the biggest. I think he was actually on the shorter side, but he worked incredibly hard and beat giants. So just hard work beats talent every time.
Dunya, back to you. What what advice would you give for future athletes?
أحب أقول لهم إنه أنتوا عظماء في دولة عظيمة، وفرت لنا أشياء كثيرة، دعم لا محدود من قيادتها الكريمة، وأنت اللي تحلم وأنت راح تحقق بكل هذا الدعم، ولا توقف عن حلمك، وإن شاء الله يعني بإصرارك وعزيمتك راح توصل للي أنت تحلم فيه.
Inshallah, بإذن. Thank you, Dunya. Thank you, Hussein, for these inspiring words.
Indeed, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Dunya and Hussein. Let's move on now to the panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen, during which a fundamental question will be discussed. To what extent can sport empower our youth with lifelong skills and foster their leadership capabilities and abilities? Please join me in welcoming an exceptional lineup of speakers. His Royal Highness Prince Khalid bin Al-Walid Al Saud, President of the Saudi Sports for All. A big hand, please. Welcome, Your Royal Highness. And Dr. Abdullah Al Fawzan, Secretary General of the King Abdulaziz Center for National Dialogue. أهلا وسهلا فيك دكتور. على مهلك. And Batul Baroum, CEO of the Saudi Olympic Academy. Welcome, Batul. And Dr. Stephen Sommer, CEO of the MISC School. Welcome, Dr. Stephen. I'll pass the mic to you, Rasha.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to invite each and every one of you to present your global vision and the overall activities of your organization. Your Royal Highness, Sports for All was developed in 2018 to build a healthy and vibrant community to be physically active. In 2020, Sports for All developed a focused 5-year strategy to drive community sports in the kingdom. What is Your Highness' view regarding the importance of sport in line with Vision 2030? What is the place of youth in it, and what have you observed so far?
Alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah. Thank you very much for having me, everyone. Absolute pleasure seeing you again. So it's a really important question, especially that the focus of Saudi Arabia is definitely on its youth, and as we all know, 70% of the population is under the age of 30 or 35, depending on the survey that you read. But the Sports for All Federation was established in 2018, and in conjunction with developing programs for the quality of life program that Saudi introduced for 2030, Vision 2030, under obviously the guidance of His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Turki Al Faisal and the Ministry of Sport. So sports plays a huge role in activating youth, especially the grassroots. That is really fundamental for any sports achievement in any country. From my point of view, as well as from the MOS's point of view, which is the Ministry of Sport, they really found the importance of physical activity that has to start from youth and has to start from the grassroots activity. And this is why the Sports for All Federation was formed. And we have various programs, alhamdulillah, since 2018 until now that have proven to be alhamdulillah, very successful with the hard work of the amazing team that we have. I carry no no success in this. Everything that was attributed to the success of the Sports for All Federation is 100% on the amazing work and talent of the Sports for All team. In terms of youth, sports plays a huge role, especially for sports and peace. Sports plays a huge role because it improves society's interactiveness. There's a lot of well-being, developing of new social skills. There's the social bonds, forging connections, and tolerance. If you play sports the right way, if you start handing people trophies and telling all the kids that they're winners regardless if they lose or not, that's definitely not the way that we forge winners and forge resilience in sports. And this is what we're doing in the Sports for All Federation. We have different programs with the Ministry of Health, with the Ministry of Education, to start activating youth and really introduce competition on a very grassroots level so that these kids can develop the resilience and the adaptiveness of losing and turning them into opportunities for success in the future.
Thank you for sharing your insights for Sports for All 5 years strategy. Moving on to our next panelist, Dr. Al-Fawzan. The King Abdulaziz Center for National Dialogue mission is to facilitate open and constructive constructive dialogue among different segments of Saudi society. Could you provide us an overview of key activities that has been implemented by the center?
Thank you very much. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلاة والسلام على رسول الله. First of all, really, I'm very thankful to the Ministry of Sport for allowing this opportunity for us in the King Abdulaziz Center for National Dialogue to participate in this event, which is very important from our perspective, since it comes with the values that we are working on in the center. Let me tell you that the center was established in 2003 as a non-government organization serving many objectives that we are working on. First of the objectives is the spread of the culture of dialogue itself. Secondly, to enhance the values of coexistence, social cohesion, and tolerance among Saudi youths. So we are working hard on these issues, and we have a lot of initiatives and activities that we achieve every year. At the beginning, in 2003, the first thing that we had done at that time was the national dialogue meetings. You know, our society is just like any other society. It's diverse. It contains a lot of people from different religious sects, also from different provinces, from different tribes. So it's the mission of the center to maintain the peace and social cohesion and coexistence and tolerance among these segments of society. So we are lucky enough that the first among the activities that we had done over there, that national dialogue meetings with elites from different backgrounds coming together in order to reach a ground of understanding and maintaining the values of peace and tolerance and social unity and social cohesion. And we were lucky enough because these meetings reached to many recommendations which is sent to the policymakers at that time in order to apply these recommendations, among which as I told you, social unity, women empowerment, youth empowerment, and all the services were under the discussion of the elites of Saudi society. Also, we have what's so called the Academy of Training or Dialogue Academy Training Center. We are doing a lot of workshops, training the students, working with the Ministry of Education, and really trying to promote the values of tolerance and peace and coexistence among these students. Also, among the activities that we are doing is doing research. When we are doing indicators regarding social unity and tolerance and coexistence. These three indicators, we are doing studies around the kingdom in order to see exactly the degree of the social unity and tolerance and coexistence among Saudi society. Do you want me to stop? Okay, as you like.
No, I think it's very clear that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead if you want.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just mindful of mind. We just have 20 more minutes and almost 8 questions, so I apologize. But we truly appreciate your input on sharing key initiatives implemented by the center. We truly believe that the center do bridge the gaps between different segments of the population and enhance unity. We've seen the impact and we believe in the center. So thank you so much. I'd like to turn our attention to Ms. Baroum. Ms. Baroum, the Saudi Olympic Committee was developed in 2021. Could you share your vision of your current activities, projects of raising awareness of sports values in Saudi Arabia?
Sure. I'm really sorry to take your time, but so it's the Saudi Olympic Academy, not the Saudi Olympic Committee. We were established in 2021 under the supervision of the Saudi Olympic and Paralympic Committee. And the vision of the Academy is to inspire excellence, lifelong learning through the power of the Olympic values and educational programs. So at the Academy, we believe that sports is more than just games, but there are opportunities for life lessons and teachable moments. And while athletic prowess is essential, of course, in sports, we want to place a similar and equal importance and emphasis on character development. So through the educational programs, we try to instill the Olympic values of friendship, excellence, and respect. We currently have a few initiatives. So we are starting to work with the Saudi Sports School Federation to develop and implement an Olympic values education programs in schools so we can start teaching our young athletes and students about these values. We are also trying to infuse the sport curricula of sport professionals and PE teachers, and we've had discussions with the Saudi University Sports Federation to do that. Fortunately for us, we have a lot of our important stakeholders in our board. So Sports for All, we have on our board Mahd Academy, and we want to integrate some of these educational programs in their activities as well. We see also a venue and a potential for incorporating educational programs in the events and games that are being hosted here in Saudi, so we can leverage the investment and increase the impact of these events. There's a really nice example for that, which is the Youth Olympic Games that are being held for, it's a elite sporting event, but it is unique and distinct in the way that it incorporates a lot of educational programs and a series of activities for the athletes and participants. So even when they're away from the field of play, they are going through a lot of activities and fun and engaging events and sessions where they have the opportunity to learn about the Olympic values and engage with other people and experience and exchange culture and ideas with other participants. And I think it's really interesting to note that the last Youth Olympic Games that was in Buenos Aires in 2018, there were 4,000 young athletes, and it was the first time in Olympic history where they actually achieved gender equality in that event.
Thank you, Ms. Baroum. I'm sure that the Academy's vision plays an impact on individuals' character and also positively impact the society at a larger stage. Now let's shift our focus to our fourth panelist, Ms. Sumur. The Crown Prince has established MISC Foundation with an objective of empowering Saudi youth. Could you please tell us more about the mission of MISC Foundation, in particular the mission of MISC schools, please?
Thank you very much. The MISC Foundation was indeed established by the Crown Prince with the intention to empower, upskill, bring into the 21st century and make internationally competitive the Saudi youth. And that goes along what we said here earlier, that 50% of the country's population are very young, and this is the foundation is there to really facilitate that empowerment. For that, we concentrate in the very first instance on education. Therefore, within the MISC Foundation, there are, for instance, two schools. There are the Riyadh schools, and there's the MISC schools that you've just mentioned. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But the empowerment is also to make sure that the youth of Saudi are upskilled. We've got the MISC Distinct program that's youth from all over Saudi can sign up to and contribute to and take part in and can graduate from further skills. We focus on the 11 commissions of the Ministry of Culture, on the various aspects there that students can and youth from anywhere in Saudi can sign up to and upskill themselves. And of course, a big part is science and technology, but it's also language learning. There's a program for Chinese, and all the different aspects are there. So the MISC Foundation is very much seen as a driver, as an innovator that supports, but also shines a light on the Ministry of Education in what kind of things could be done in the future. Just a few things about MISC schools. MISC schools, as one of the two schools within the MISC Foundation, was established with the aim to educate the future leaders of the kingdom and to be a school of repute and one of the famous and most significantly highly performing schools in the world. And we're very much in the process of developing that at the moment. Leadership being one of the most important aspects. As I've just said, the mission is to develop and educate the future leaders of Saudi. And that means that leadership is being taught at MISC schools in all academic subjects, scaled down to the skills that leadership actually entail. That's leadership of self, leadership of others, and leadership of one's own expertise. Sport being a very important aspect of it.
We fully believe in the mission of MISC Foundation, MISC School. 2 days ago, I was at MISC School for the women's talk, and we were dumbfounded by the facilities, MISC facilities. So,
thank you.
Congratulations. Moving back to you, Your Royal Highness, on Big Picture with Key Figures. As Sports for All collects data related to young people's participation in sports within the kingdom, Your Royal Highness, can you share with us the bigger picture about youth relation with sports in the kingdom? What would you like to share general thoughts regarding these evolutions that happened?
Sure. So we have different ways of collecting data, but also analyzing data and earmarking specific programs for specific regions, for specific genders, in specific times, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So we have different programs in Jizan, for example, and we had, I believe, more than 5,000 participants. There were, majority of them were kids for different programs that we did over there. We have different programs also when it comes to neighborhood clubs, which is a really near and dear program to my heart, simply because during the surveys that we do, the active participants of the youth is about 6% in the kingdom, and that is practically the lowest it can be in the region, as well as overall globally, I would say. And this is something that's, one, unacceptable, but two, easily reversible. Through different programs that we did with, for example, Move to Game was a really innovative program that the amazing team came up with during COVID times. And we had a deal with the Esports Federation, so that every tournament that they do, we would participate in, and we would chip in with their tournament winnings and prizes. But for everyone who wants to participate in it, they had to video themselves and then post it on social media of them doing 10,000 steps, 100 push-ups, sit-ups, etc. We had more than 250,000 participants during then. Now, we all know that COVID played a huge role in the uptick in physical activity, simply because of I'm not going to get into the policies, but the specific policies that were enforced at that time. So people had a lot of free time, so therefore they had a lot of movement, a lot of time to have some movement. Regardless of that, those numbers tapered down significantly, but not in an alarming way. Our last survey, we had about 48.2, 48.5% of the population active, which means they were doing some sort of physical activity of 30 minutes a week. Not very much, but we've changed the definition of physical activity right now for us, and we're really focusing on 150 minutes a week for adults and 1 hour a day for the youth. The youth, again, play a huge role in our federation. The most important thing is that we have to get that 6% number up in any way possible. And that's really simple, simply because 75% of the population is under 30. So you have a really young population. We're very active and very creative on how to get these youth active.
Thank you for sharing these valuable insights. These are true numbers, testaments that displays the growing interest and active participation in sports across different age groups. It's truly inspiring. Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Ms. Baroum, sport can have a significant impact on leadership development. You've stated in your previous answer, in your opinion, how can sport empower the youth with leadership character? How does the Academy use sports as a platform to instill values and skills?
Absolutely. At the Academy, we are strong believers in the power of sports and the impact that it has on societies and individuals. I mean, we've heard from Prince Khalid and from everyone today in this forum about the kind of impact that sports can have, not only on the health and well-being of a person and their mental and psychological well-being as well, but also in character building and development of leadership skills and life skills that are essential for the success of anyone in life. Through sports, you learn the importance of hard work, you learn discipline and commitment, you also build your resilience because you learn how to fail and then how you accept that failure and pick up yourself again. You learn how to win humbly and modestly. You can instill so many values and virtues through sports, and we've even seen that. And you can also break stereotypes and barriers, as we've seen with our guest speakers today, the athletes Aya, or as Hussein mentioned about the feeling of brotherhood and camaraderie that goes beyond the differences that we have outside of the court or outside of the field or track. And it's something that I've experienced personally. I still remember the sentiment I had when I ran my first marathon along with thousands of runners. And I just felt this sense of camaraderie that I've never felt before. And it didn't matter at that time what their religion is or their race or their nationality or what their political beliefs are. It's just we all are there for us to share the same passion and to work towards a common goal.
Was your first marathon the Riyadh Marathon?
No, it was in Auckland, New Zealand. But again, there's an important point that sometimes we overlook, which is sports has risks as well. And if we are not cautioned and understanding about the way that we approach sports and training, that we could inadvertently cause some negative impact through sports. So focusing on the wrong things can can enable some behaviors like unsportsmanship-like behavior or hyper competitiveness. Of course, it can lead to physical injuries, and we all hear what happens with doping and cheating. And it's because we focus on the wrong things. And I think this is where the vital role of education lies. It's in how can we do this informed coaching and mentoring through sports so that we can reap all those benefits of the sports while not falling in the pitfalls and preventing the risks that could happen. And that's where the role of the academy is.
Certainly, sports can shape who you are as a person. So true. I'd like to turn our attention to Dr. Al-Fawzan. As a concept of peace culture involves dialogue, understanding among diverse groups, how does the center empower and engage Saudi youth in activities that contribute to develop culture exchange and dialogue?
Thank you very much. Good question, really. We have mostly all of our activities are directed or targeting the youth, by the way. Look at Nasij program in the eastern region of Saudi Arabia. We are serving almost 8,000 students every year from different religious sects, from different segments of society, coming together, doing voluntary work together, trying to do initiatives about how to enhance the social unity of our society. This is a good program really that we are doing right now, and it will be around the kingdom. Look at the ambassadors of moderation that we are working with Taiba University in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, where students coming from almost 40,000 from 40 universities around the kingdom, either private or public universities, they are coming to Al-Madinah, to Taiba University, in order to train them on tolerance and coexistence and respect to each other. And also, we held 2 conferences with UNESCO, with the students coming from almost 32 countries around the world, under the umbrella of the center itself, and the title is Volunteering and Dialogue. They come together once in Riyadh, and the other one in Paris, and mostly they respected each other. They really got advantage of these kind of conferences that we did, with a lot of activities that we are doing. These are some of the activities that we are really trying to continue in order to bring peace. Regarding sports, let me tell you what we did with the sports itself. We called really a lot of famous football players to the center to meet with our young people and tell them about tolerance, about how to behave sometimes. And they liked it so much because famous football players, they come to us. Secondly, we are working now, and hopefully the Ministry of Sports will support us. We are working on research indicator about sport hooliganism, or they call it sport fanatism. So we are working on this indicator, hopefully with the help of the Ministry of Sports. And this is a kind of research that we have to do now. We are also trying to help our youths with taking their opinions about many issues through the Public Opinion Poll Center, where we interview these youths, listen to them, and send the result to the policymakers in Saudi Arabia. These are some of our activities, and these are the things that we are doing to be honest, with our youth in Saudi Arabia. We are trying really to do some efforts because we are non-government organization. We are depending on our own financial resources, so we are working according to these resources that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Fawzan. Very inspiring initiatives. Moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Sumur. When it comes to fostering empowerment and leadership character, what role do you believe sports play within the broader education system?
Sports play an enormous role in the in leadership, but also empowering youngsters. I said when I answered the first questions that, of course, the foundation is there to empowering and upskilling the youth of Saudi. And sport plays an important role. As you saw the other day, Miss Schools have just moved into their new campus in Misk City, and part of that is the Olympic Sports Center, Olympic swimming pools, Olympic gymnastics halls, and in this Olympic sports halls. In fact, over 20 Olympic sports can be trained and practiced there. But sport, and we've heard a number of these attributes already, and I think it's quite important for us here to realize that it's the attributes of sports that have influenced the education that's being delivered at Miss Schools and possibly will also in the Riyadh schools. And that is the concept of high-performance learning, of making sure that all students can achieve the topmost level internationally. And one could argue, well, that's not possible. Well, I can tell you it is possible. It has been proven. And that is by emulating what sports have been doing for years. And that is developing discipline, developing the resilience, and as we've just heard, also developing the attitude and the acceptance to fail, which in education we do every now and again. We don't do everything perfectly, however hard we try. Education comes in peaks and troughs, and that is an important aspect in sport that we can, let alone aspects that I've mentioned before about leadership that you learn in sport. In fact, there's a lot of truth in the saying that many of the world's top leaders are also good sportsmen, because it is about being part of a team, and every sportsman at some stage has to lead a team, however big, however small, and has to be prepared to be led. That's not easy. If you don't learn to be led, you don't know how to be led, and to be a part of a team that then is strong. The acceptance of your own strength being dependent of the strength of everybody else, because the team's like a chain, and the chain strength depends on the weakest link. And those are very important qualities for students to learn at a very early stage. So sports is one of those aspects that plays an important role in the foundation in Miss Schools and also in the Riyadh schools, but actually it has transcended into the education per se on what's being done in maths, in Arabic, in Islamic studies, everything, what I've just said in the attributes, persistence, discipline, and also making sure that we try things out which might not work and try again using another tactic. And those are very important skills that sport has taught us. And looking at the impact of sport on the kingdom as really a country on the move. I mean, there's nothing of the kind anywhere in the world what we're observing here. And sport has immense lessons to teach all of us. And I'm really very glad to see that Saudi is investing so much in sport, and not only in the sport for the masses, but also the elite sport. And one more point I would like to make, that the one thing that is ever so important in sport that we often forget about is the fundamental notion of leaving nothing to chance. Because everyone who's succeeded in sport knows that it's not only about training, it's about the time of training, but it's also when you sleep and rest and how you sleep and rest, where you rest your head on, the kind of pillow it is, what your diet is, if your diet is tailored to your metabolism. So all of these things, these tiny details, which seemingly have nothing to do with sport, but will make the difference when the difference is marginal gains. And that is exactly the same in education per se, and in all other skills that the young people of Saudi have to learn. Thank you.
Inspiring words. We fully believe that through actively fulfilling these roles, it will create an environment that fosters an empowerment, as well cultivate the qualities of necessary effective leadership. So thank you. Moving on to you, Your Royal Highness. Let's focus on the kids, especially the grassroots programs designated for children. Can you tell us more about the Neighborhood Clubs program? May you please let us know more about your perspective regarding children's participation?
Sure. So Neighborhood Clubs is a collaboration between the Sports for All Federation and the Ministry of Education. And it really is behind activating neighborhood clubs, which are schools. However, we activate them after hours. There are a number of schools, as I understand it, there's about 1,000 neighborhood clubs or schools earmarked as neighborhood clubs. We've activated since about 18 months ago, we've activated about 50, 52, actually, sorry, 48 or 46 schools. Our aim is to finish this year to about 50 or 55. Next year, I'm setting a ambitious target of activating about 200 schools. My ambition, honestly, and we've actually met with the Ministry of Education not too long ago with His Excellency, the Minister. And we have verbally agreed on the SFA will be responsible for activating the 1,000 schools that they have. And that'll be throughout the 5 years or 6 years until 2030. And our idea is to activate 200 schools every year. Throughout that 1 year, the key thing to do is definitely to hand over the activation or the responsibility of activating these schools after hours to the community. So to hand it over to the volunteers so that it is not a constant burden on the Ministry of Sport to activate these schools or even the Ministry of Education. But it's a responsibility of the neighborhoods to upkeep and to start developing these different programs. And we have about, 30 cities that we're activating them, and we've got about 20,000 participants right now, alhamdulillah. But anyway, that's just the beginning. We've had a lot of support from the Ministry of Sport to push us towards activating these neighborhood clubs, simply because that we believe that, again, driving the youth to physical activity will definitely increase the chances of having a healthier and more vibrant society.
Definitely balancing competition with enjoyment while also ensuring that the children's interest and well-being are key factors. Ms. Baroum, now let's shift our focus on technology. In a rapidly changing world, the role of technology and innovation is crucial in youth engagement. How is the Saudi Olympic Academy leveraging technology and innovation approaches?
Absolutely. I mean, we live in a digital age, and you just got to get with the times. Well, the Academy intends on being on the forefront of integrating technology and innovation with its educational programs. Of course, I can't say we're there yet. We're really young. We just started. We're taking small steps. But we are planning on developing our e-learning platform so we can have a wider reach to our audience and to be able to run virtual sessions and engaging activities online. Fortunately for us, with COVID, most of the organizations now have at least the minimum infrastructure to have, the technical requirements. Just last month, we delivered a workshop with the Ministry of Education to over 500 PE teachers around Saudi on Olympic values. So we do need to get on that. As I said, we're working on it. We're taking our first steps. We are also planning on launching our Olympic Research and Innovation Center so that we can collate data and disseminate information and knowledge, and that we can actually understand what are the needs in the sector of the athletes, of the coaches, of the ecosystem, the federations, so we can support them in a better and more customized way.
Dr. Al-Fawzan, moving on to our last question on sport. Sport is a unifying force, bringing together people from a diverse background. How do you see the role of sports in promoting the values of mutual understanding and dialogue?
As a sociologist, by the way, we look at sports as social phenomena. It represents the will of the people, where they can exercise, at least some activities that would lead them together. I remember when I was in my village in Hail, it's called Al Rawda. It's a village, I remember that we use sports, especially football, to come together. Even in the village, we have different tribes. We have different people coming from outside the village. So sometimes we fight each other, but we chose sport in order to bring us together. So we became friends instead of being enemies to each other. So exactly that's what's happening. In terms of the international arena, I think sports could play a very crucial role in terms of bringing people together and spreading the values of peace, coexistence, and respect to each other. I think there is a study in South Africa about the role of sports in peacemaking in South Africa. The results really affirmed that sports could lead to more respect and tolerance among the participants. So let's really design sports to be a tool, and it is very, very strong tool for peace, for tolerance. I think it's very powerful, and the literature about sports and peace tells us that there is a strong relationship between really sports and peace around the world. So I think those who are working in the sports arena, I think they have the duty to, and the obligation in order to make it more peaceful and to make it really, and design the programs that will make it more attractive to the people around the world, since it's a universal language, I mean the sport. So let us do it very positive for our kids around the world. Thank you very much.
Indeed, sports do provide a powerful platform to engage in a meaningful dialogue. Mr. Sumoor, last but not least, how do you evaluate the current career pathways presented in the Saudi sports industry?
The pathways, meaning, and that's the way I understand it, what happens next once you are an athlete, and that's really a very important aspect of creating elite sport generally in a country. That's not only here, that has been the case in all very famous and successful sporting nations around the world. The BISC Foundation takes a very keen stance on that, and so does BISC Schools, in the way that, yes, sport is very important and we foster sport, but at the same time, a very good foundation education that comes with it. So while we support sporting talent with scholarships and in all kinds of measures within the foundation and the schools, we do insist that the elements of the MIS diploma, for instance, which is a very stringent academic qualification, it's an international qualification, it's taught in English, is being followed to a degree, so that, yes, there's time to commit to the sport, that obviously top athletes and top sportsmen have to spend a fair number of hours doing sport, and so that they have a good education. Now, when we look at the pathways, what is available now for the sportsmen, Hussein mentioned that before, and I really like that, because I think the biggest involvement that the top sportsmen of Saudi need to have at this time, when the youth are being empowered and led towards implementing and living the vision for 2030 and what comes next, the extension of it, it is very important that they are seen as the role models. Enticing students to be engaged, to be active, to live healthily, and to find their passion in a sport is very important. And for that, they need someone to look up to. And those people who they look up to are most likely the athletes like Hussein, like the famous athletes that we've had in Saudi, and there will be many more in the future. And that, I consider, is their first role. But also their own education. What is it that they have done while they have become an elite athlete to make sure they have provided for their own future? Meaning, what is the educational journey that they went through and what kind of things do they end up doing? And there are all sorts of careers that I can think of. For instance, in education, in order to inspire further students. That could be as teachers, that could be as university lecturers, that could be as journalists, which I also see as a way of educating people, because that is what it is. That is what journalists do. By telling stories, stories, what's happening in sport, what's happening outside the world, and so forth. And we can see successful nations around the world on the sporting scene. Many of their famous athletes have taken that journey into journalism to make sure that the notion of sport is being propagated and more sportsmen are being found. So I think the future is bright for them. It's still early stages, but at this very beginning, I think the athletes that we're producing at the moment, in the very first instance, need to look after their education, and we need to be able to provide for that. But when they are then towards the finishing line of their careers, which let's face it, with elite sport is actually very early when you're still very young, in your 30s or maybe mid-30s, maybe mid-30s and late 30s, that they then make an active contribution to developing the next cohort, the next generation of athletes.
Thank you. One last word from each of the panelists. In one word, what is your recommendation for the future generations?
I'll go last. Go ahead.
Mr. Samur?
I would like to say a few words. The one word that I would use is ambition, and that is very important. It ties in with the human capital piece of the Vision 2030, and that is what everyone needs to have at this stage, where the power of the future for the kingdom lies in the young people, of whom we've got many. And empowering them means instilling ambition, saying there are opportunities there. For that we need role models, and that is our current athletes, but also role models in the shape of the Crown Prince and the royal household. It's really, there's a lot for us, the Vision 2030, to look forward to, that creates that ambition, that great ambition that we've had given to us as an example by the Vision 2030 now needs to be translated in our own vision, in our little piece. What is our contribution to this grand vision? And that is really what I would like to see in all young people to carve out for themselves.
Thank you. Sparu?
I think I would say awareness, like real awareness and understanding in education, because that is what empowers.
I have to say tolerance. I think tolerance plays a really important role with how you put political issues aside and focus on health and wellness and physical activity through sport.
Definitely. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure to be part of this well-esteemed panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Shukran. Thank you, Rasha. Thank you all. Thank you very much. We are now more than ever convinced on the power of sport to empower the youth. Thank you very much for this. Again, warm applause to our panelists.